Good morning, California. It gives me great pleasure today to introduce Dr. John Seffrin, our national CEO of this great American Cancer Society. Dr. Seffrin has been our national CEO for 20 years, but his first encounter with the disease dates back to his childhood. His grandmother, who was living with his family at the time, died of cancer when he was only 10 years old. He since has lost his mother to cancer. But the good news, his wife of 46 years, Carol, is a breast cancer survivor. Dr. Seffrin has been on the front lines in the war against cancer for many years, not only as our CEO of the American Cancer Society, but also for many years before that as one of the American Cancer Society's 3 million volunteers nationwide. Under his leadership, the Society became the world's largest voluntary health organization fighting cancer with $1 billion in resources to save lives by helping people stay well, get well, and finding cures. In the political realm, Dr. Seffrin has transformed the world's largest cancer-fighting group into one of the world's most progressive public health organizations. And under his leadership, we have become the premier advocacy organization. Dr. Seffrin is active in numerous organizations. He currently serves on the White House Advisory Group on Prevention, Health Promotion, Integrative and Public Health, as well as the Advisory Committee to the Director of the U.S. Centers Disease Control, secretary-level appointment, mind you. And Dr. Seffrin is past president of the Geneva-headquartered Union of International Cancer Control, the first globally oriented cancer non-government organization. Now, in 1999, Dr. Seffrin was selected to be a charter member of C-Change, actually known as National Dialogue on Cancer, and it was founded by former President George H.W. Bush and former First Lady Barbara Bush. In 1997, he was appointed to the National Cancer Policy Board, Institute of Medicine, and in 1999 was appointed by Senator Dianne Feinstein to co-chair the National Cancer Legislation Advisory Committee. He is an esteemed speaker, a great leader. I am so proud to welcome Dr. John Seffrin to the podium.
Thank you and good morning. Thank you and good morning. Thank you and good morning. Oh, what a privilege and a pleasure it is to be here with you today. Let me say right up front, over the last quarter century, 25 years, I've spoken to the California Division annual meeting and Board of Directors meeting at least 12 times, and I think closer to 15. But I've never heard so much noise before as I hear this morning. So, let me begin by acknowledging my dear friend Jenny Cook, who was the second woman to be chairman of the National Board of Directors, who happens to be in the audience this evening. Let me also express congratulations and appreciations to Carolyn and Clifford, who did a terrific job leading the California Division this past year. And to Marty and Jose, who, as they said last night, they have big shoes to fill, but I'm confident they'll do it. So best wishes to you. Please know that you can call on me anytime that I can be of help to you in the year ahead. And also thanks and congratulations to Kim Harvey, your Relay for Life Division Chair, your incoming Relay Division Chair, Diane Lowandowski, that you just heard from a minute ago. Excuse my pronunciation. And Amanda Millette, whom you just heard from a few minutes ago. Are there any relayers in the room? I say that because I'm here mainly to speak to you. I came from Atlanta. I have to turn around and go right back to Atlanta. We're going through a huge transformation, and it's important for the CEO to be very visible in that, and so my travel is even more than it normally is. But I wanted to be here to say a couple of things to you directly. You are so important to the American Cancer Society and its noble cause of saving lives from cancer, not just because you're relayers, but because you're relayers, you're friend raisers, you're fundraisers, and most importantly, you're lifesavers. Don't ever forget that the celebration you're having here is for the lives that you're saving. Gordy Klatt, whose picture you saw, is a dear friend of mine. He and I both met when I was a volunteer and he was a volunteer. He was one of the first docs, he's a colorectal cancer surgeon, who said to me, I'm not interested in becoming president of the American Cancer Society. Virtually every doctor who ever volunteered, that would be the ultimate, to be president. And he said no, and he was on the board, I was on the board. I want to be known as a doctor who raised money for the American Cancer Society. And so in 1985, he starts walking around the track in Tacoma, Washington, getting his other physician friends and surgeons to say, I'll put in so much money for every lap you complete. So he would run for an hour and rest and run for an hour for 24 straight hours and raised $25,000. And I'm sure Gordy would say, we said, you know, we think Gordy's got something going here. Now, not everybody is quite as fit as he is and can run for an hour and so on, so we might have to adapt this thing a little bit, but probably there's something here to get people engaged. Who would have thought that fast forward almost 3 decades, 27 years later, and 1 in every 100 Americans is a relayer? Relay has raised $4 billion for the fight against cancer, and it helped make this organization a billion-dollar organization. What I want to share with you today, as you go forward and show this energy and this commitment and dedication, remember always, no matter what anybody else says, you're going to hear from some doctors this morning that save lives because of direct involvement with treatment and surgery, but you're saving lives because you're out there bringing awareness, collecting money to fund research, educating people, and making a huge difference. 5 major things you've caused to happen that are transformative for our American Cancer Society. Number 1, you brought in new and more money. So the reason the American Cancer Society is the largest voluntary health organization in the world on several criteria, whether you're counting the number of staff, the number of volunteers, or the number of dollars raised, all relates to Relay. Relay, your Relay, relays around the country raise now over $1 million a day. You've expanded, it's tremendous. No one else has ever accomplished that feat. Second, Relay has expanded and deepened our community presence. You are a constant face in the society and in the communities you represent. So very important to put a face on this disease. You've accelerated diversity in the American Cancer Society and created a national youth relay movement. There are now 500 college and university campus events. I've attended some of those myself. They're tremendous things. You've built a living platform for your community to participate in civil society. Keep that thought in mind. There are some people who would say, no, only very wealthy people can participate in civil society. No, Relay for Life is a platform for everybody. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things and get engaged in the fight against cancer. And fifth, you have given a real living face and voice to cancer patients and cancer survivors. An amazing thing. You got to remember that when the organization got started, we didn't have cancer survivors. Any diagnosis of cancer was a virtual death sentence, only to be preceded by a protracted period of pain and suffering. So you think about that today and what you're making happen. You're going to hear something after I get done speaking that'll knock your socks off, okay? So keep in mind you're a lifesaver. You're pushing the ball over the goal line. We're going to bring this disease under control in this century. It was not possible without divine intervention last century. It's possible this century if we do the right things. And let me focus right in on you today in California. In 2011, you had an incredible 427 Relay for Life events that raised $31.7 million. How about a round of applause for that? Cancer survivorship, as was said in my introduction, I can still remember, and it had an indelible impression on me as a 9, 10-year-old to see our living room transformed into essentially what I didn't know the word then, a hospice room. And we had a hospital bed on loan from the American Cancer Society, and to see my grandmother go through the end stages of disease, and it was emotionally very upsetting for me. Years later, was digging through some things that I had and I saw her obituary, and she was 59 years old when she died. When I got involved in the American Cancer Society as a volunteer, That was 1972. If my wife then, Carol, had gotten breast cancer, she would have had to have had a radical Halsted mastectomy, a complete dissection of the axillary lymph nodes with common swelling of the arm and all that problems, and a 50% chance of being alive in 5 years. Thank God she didn't get breast cancer when I first got involved in the American Cancer Society. She did 8 years ago, and we checked into the hospital. We found out in October. We changed our Thanksgiving plans, checked into the hospital at 7:30 in the morning. Bill Wood, who was a famous breast cancer surgeon, came out of surgery and said, "John, the sentinel lymph node is clean. Since I know who you are, you can go into recovery." 3:30 that afternoon, we walked into the back door of our house, and the next day we had Thanksgiving dinner at home alone together for the first time in either of our lives. She'll never die of that breast cancer. Cancer survivorship is so important. Now, let me tell you a little bit of trivia, but it's not trivial. Your American Cancer Society publishes a portfolio of publications. One of those portfolios is called Cancer Facts and Figures, and we officially publish for the country the number of new cancer cases and the number of cancer deaths by site, breast, bladder, lung, and by state, California, Iowa, and Indiana. And it's the most widely cited cancer document in the entire literature worldwide every year. For the first time ever, we published Cancer Facts and Figures on survivorship 2 months ago. And you know, I'm really too old to get goose flesh, but I get so excited about what we're doing and where we're going and what the future holds for us if we just do the right thing. So now here's the trivia, I promised you. You know how many people there are in the world? 6.79 billion people in the world. Only 307 million live in the United States. But we just officially announced, for the first time ever, there are now 28 million cancer survivors in the entire world. Guess where half of them live? In the United States of America, 14 million. Let me just say to you in the few minutes I have left that I have never been more excited to be with the American Cancer Society than I am now. I can remember, Jenny, when I got on the National Board. I remember when I was elected chairman of the National Board of Directors a long time ago. I can remember in 1992 when I was asked to assume this job as the CEO. And I was, of course, excited about that. But I've never been more excited than I am now. And the reason I am so excited is this fantastic organization. I mean, when you're number one, when you're the largest voluntary health organization in the world, the largest cancer-fighting NGO in the whole frigging world, you could say, so there, and rest on your laurels. No, because the American Cancer Society says we're never satisfied with the status quo. By golly. By golly, we have shown and published the data that we're now saving 350 more lives per day than we were in 1991. Think how someone like yours truly feels. When I got involved, it was so often hopeless, as with my grandmother. And now all of a sudden we're saving 350 lives more per day. And cancer death rates have gone down every year for 17 years in a row. And we will be announcing, this is top secret, don't let the cat out of the bag. We will be announcing early in the new year the first ever 20% decline in age-standardized mortality rates in the history of the world, which yields the American public a $10 trillion value. So for us to bring cancer under control is a big boon to the economy as well as a wonderful humanitarian thing. So what we're doing is transforming the American Cancer Society. We're working every day. We've got to go out and raise $2.47 million every single day of the week, Sundays included, around in order to stay even. But what we say is we're going to expand our platform because we're saying we've got data that we can not only save 350 a day, we could save 1,000 a day in the United States of America. And someday, if we do the right things, 10,000 lives per day worldwide. And that could be very exciting. There's so little that I know for sure, but I know if that happens, and it should happen, it could happen. I'm not talking about miracles. I'm talking about staying the course, doing what we know works, and continuing to fund research for more answers. If we do the right things, that'll happen. If it happens, it'll be because the American Cancer Society has shown that global leadership. And so the American Cancer Society has gone from a very community-based, local, wonderful charity, collecting money, educating people, centrally locating and funding research, to a high-impact cancer control change agency. And we now want to become a global leader of a movement to bring cancer under control as early as possible in this century. If we do that, it'll be one of the greatest public health victories of all time, if not the greatest. So let me just say to you, my ultimate salute. There's a saying that says, the human being is the only animal that both laughs and cries. And that's because we somehow know the difference between what is and what ought to be. And you relayers are very special human beings because you work every damn day to change what is into what could be, which is a world with less cancer and more birthdays. And for that, I ask that God bless you all, always and in all ways. Now, you're the greatest.